Over the last few years, buy-to-let has been described as everything from a guaranteed route to wealth to something that's no longer worth considering at all. In this video, I want to take a calm, realistic look at whether buy-to-let is still worth it in the UK. Not in theory, but in practice. This question is being asked more often because the landscape has changed. Costs are higher, mortgage rates have risen, tax rules are more restrictive, and regulation has increased. Compared with a decade ago, buy-to-let clearly looks more demanding. Before answering whether buy-to-let is still worth it, it's important to be clear about what worth it actually means. Worth it for whom and for what purpose? The answer is very different for someone seeking short-term income compared with someone thinking long-term. There's no getting around the fact that buy-to-let is harder than it used to be. Higher borrowing costs reduce margins. Tax has a bigger impact on income, and compliance takes more time and effort. Anyone considering buy-to-let today needs to accept this reality up front. At the same time, harder does not mean impossible. Buy-to-let can still work, but only if expectations, numbers, and strategy are adjusted to match today's environment. The era of buying almost anything and relying on rising prices is largely over. Buy-to-let trends work best for people who think long-term, plan conservatively, and are comfortable treating property as a business. It suits those who prioritize resilience and sustainability over quick returns. It is far less suited to people looking for fast income or minimal involvement. In today's market, cash flow matters more than ever. With tighter margins, a property needs to support itself comfortably through voids, repairs, and changes in costs. Properties that rely on optimistic assumptions tend to struggle under pressure. Capital growth has historically played a big role in buy-to-let returns. However, future price growth is uncertain and should not be assumed. Buy-to-let decisions that rely entirely on price increases rather than sustainable cash flow carry significantly more risk. Tax now plays a much larger role in determining whether buy-to-let feels worthwhile. The impact of tax varies widely depending on personal circumstances and ownership structure. This is why buy-to-let no longer has a one-size-fits-all answer. How a property is owned, personally or through a limited company, can significantly affect outcomes. There is no universally correct option. The right structure depends on income, goals, and time horizon, and needs to be considered carefully. Buy-to-let is no longer the default answer for building wealth. For some people, alternatives such as pensions or other investments may offer simpler or more predictable outcomes. Buy-to-let now competes on resilience, control, and long-term asset ownership rather than ease. Buy-to-let can still make sense when properties are purchased carefully, numbers are conservative, and the strategy is long-term. It works best when the goal is steady ownership rather than maximizing short-term returns. Buy-to-let often disappoints when expectations are unrealistic, when costs are underestimated, tax is ignored, or capital growth is relied on too heavily. The experience can feel frustrating rather than rewarding. So, is buy-to-let still worth it in the UK? For some people, with the right approach and expectations, yes. For others, particularly those seeking simplicity or quick returns, then probably not. The key is understanding which group you fall into before committing your capital. A sensible approach to buy-to-let today is realistic rather than optimistic. Conservative assumptions, careful planning, and a long-term mindset matter more than ever. This approach won't make buy-to-let exciting, but it does make it sustainable. This is the practical landlord.